There's a level of expectation that they have that is just not realistic.
Jonah Platt, whose father helped produce the latest Snow White film, had some very harsh words for star Rachel Zegler.
For context, Variety wrote a report recently titled Inside Disney's Snow White Fiasco, Death Threats, Beefed Up Security, and a Social Media Guru for Rachel Zegler.
So even though woke in some sense feels like it's dead, it still has to run its course through the system. The ghosts have to get out of the machine in essence.
A company like Disney so up against it. Why? Because it doubled down on DEI. And I think Snow White has become the pinnacle of this. You know, this is gonna go down in history as an asterisk next to Rachel Zegler's name, Rachel Zegler. I don't really care about that. What I care about is how she hated the story because it needed to be wokeified, and she hated the fact that there was going to be a Prince Charming of some sort, and they needed to update it. And then what do you know? They try all this updating. They get this lousy screenwriter, in my estimation, because I saw this thing and it was awful, like really, really, really bad. And there was no tension. There was no drama. There was like nothing in that set. All it was an empty movie that was done.
There was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece, talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now.
That said, our primary purpose is to entertain, and where we can entertain responsibly, obviously we try to do that. We try to have a positive impact on the world, but the first thing we need to do is entertain.
Disney's once magical live-action remake strategy has crashed and burned in spectacular fashion, as Rachel Zegler's controversy-plagued Snow White becomes one of the biggest box office bombs in Hollywood history, sparking internal revolts against CEO Bob Iger, cancellation of future projects, and a corporate crisis that could reshape the entertainment industry for years to come. Hey there, gossip lovers. Welcome back to Maggie Talks, where we spill all the hottest tea in Hollywood. I'm your host, Maggie, and buckle up because today's episode is an absolute doozy. We're diving deep into what industry insiders are calling Disney's Titanic Moment. The catastrophic failure of their $270 million 0 cents Snow White remake that has executives panicking, projects being canceled, and may even cost Bob Iger his job. The numbers are staggering, the drama is juicy, and the fallout, absolutely nuclear. So grab your popcorn, which is more than most people did for Snow White, and let's get into the biggest Hollywood disaster of 2025. The fallout from Disney's Snow White disaster isn't just a box office embarrassment, it's triggered a full-blown crisis at the very top of the company. Bob Iger, once hailed as the savior of Disney, is now facing unprecedented scrutiny from the board of directors, and the whispers inside the Magic Kingdom are getting louder. Is Iger's time as CEO coming to an end? After Snow White's catastrophic opening just $43 million 0 cents domestically and $87 million 0 cents globally, compared to Minecraft's $157 million 0 cents weekend, Disney's leadership was thrown into panic mode. Emergency meetings were called, and according to multiple insider leaks, the board's mood was so tense, you'd think they were discussing national security. The board delivered a brutal ultimatum. Iger must either step down a year early in 2025 or immediately cancel a slate of high-risk remakes, including the much-hyped Tangled live-action project. This isn't just about one movie flopping. The board's faith in Iger has been eroding for months, with many blaming his aggressive push for modern messaging and costly creative gambles. Shareholders are furious as Disney's stock price lags and streaming numbers falter. Some directors reportedly see Iger's recent proposals, like remaking Snow White from scratch without ideological elements, as desperate attempts to cling to power. The internal divide is now public, with executives and board members openly questioning whether Iger can steer Disney out of this storm. Rumors are swirling that a decision on his future could come as soon as this summer, and that the board is already eyeing replacements who can restore Disney's battered brand. Instead of acknowledging these concerns, however, Iger has doubled down with a defense strategy that many are calling his biggest misstep yet. Disney's Snow White remake was supposed to be a magical return to form, but instead it's become a case study in how not to handle fan backlash, and at the center of the storm is CEO Bob Iger. As the film's box office numbers tanked and negative reviews poured in, Iger took to the media in a desperate attempt to defend the project. But his statements didn't just fall flat. They ignited a new wave of outrage, with fans accusing him of outright gaslighting. In a series of interviews and press releases, Iger dismissed criticism of Snow White as politically driven, insisting that detractors were extremists with hidden agendas rather than regular moviegoers. He doubled down, claiming, "We hold no agenda here, nor do we engage in any form of a culture war," and that breaking from the source material was much needed in order to create an unexpected story. For many, this translated to, "We trashed everything you loved about Snow White because we think we're smarter than our audience." The reaction was swift and brutal. Social media exploded with memes and angry threads, accusing Iger of ignoring genuine fan concerns and painting all criticism as part of a conspiracy. One viral post read, "Criticism is only inflammatory when you're completely incapable of handling the truth." Even Disney's own board reportedly grew uneasy, with rumors of emergency meetings and ultimatums swirling behind the scenes. Industry insiders now speculate that Iger's tone-deaf defense may have done more damage than the film itself, alienating Disney's core audience and putting his leadership in jeopardy. The fallout has been so severe that it's now affecting other projects in Disney's pipeline. Disney's live-action Snow White was supposed to be a fairy tale comeback, but its catastrophic failure at the box office has sent shockwaves through Hollywood, and now it's taking other projects down with it. The latest casualty? Disney's highly anticipated live-action remake of Tangled, which has reportedly been put on indefinite pause. Could this mark the end of Disney's live-action remake era? According to reports from The Hollywood Reporter and Deadline, Disney has decided to halt production on its planned remake of the 2010 animated hit Tangled. The project, which had already entered pre-production with The Greatest Showman director Michael Gracie attached, is now in limbo. Insiders suggest the decision was directly influenced by the disastrous performance of Snow White, which grossed just $69 million, 0 cents domestically, and $145 million, 0 cents globally, against a massive $270 million 0 cents budget. The failure of Snow White has prompted Disney to reassess its entire live-action strategy. While earlier remakes like Beauty and the Beast and The Lion King brought in billions by staying faithful to their source material, recent adaptations like The Little Mermaid and Snow White have struggled under criticism for sweeping changes to beloved stories. Fans have grown tired of what they see as Disney prioritizing modern messaging over storytelling. What makes this even more shocking is that Tangled was considered a safer bet than Snow White. The original film was a massive success, earning over $590 million 0 cents globally and spawning sequels and a TV series. But now, with Disney reportedly waiting to see how upcoming remakes like Lilo and Stitch and Moana perform, the future of Tangled remains uncertain. But this leads to the bigger question that's now echoing through Hollywood. With Snow White turning into a $100 0 cents plus million loss for Disney, industry analysts are now asking the question that would have seemed unthinkable just a few years ago: is this the end of Disney's live-action remake era? The evidence suggests that, at the very least, a major strategy shift is underway behind the scenes at the House of Mouse. Multiple entertainment trade publications are reporting that Disney has quietly put several planned live-action remakes on hold, including a much-anticipated adaptation of Tangled that had already been in active development with director Michael Gracie, The Greatest Showman, attached to helm the project. This pause appears to be directly related to the Snow White fallout, as executives reassess their approach to these remakes. This isn't just about one film underperforming. Industry insiders suggest that Disney's live-action remake formula may have finally run its course. While earlier remakes like Beauty and the Beast, 2017, and The Lion King brought in billions by staying relatively faithful to their source material, recent adaptations like The Little Mermaid and Snow White have struggled, often criticized for making sweeping changes to beloved stories while incorporating what some perceive as heavy-handed political messaging. Former Disney marketing executive Sarah Reynolds, name change, shared, "The early remakes worked because they enhanced what people already loved. They were nostalgic, but with spectacular new visuals. But somewhere along the line, the strategy shifted from let's celebrate these classics to let's fix these problematic old stories." Audiences have clearly rejected that approach. It's worth noting that Disney isn't abandoning the remake strategy entirely. Projects like Lilo and Stitch and Moana are still moving forward, but sources indicate the studio is now demanding script rewrites that hew closer to the original animated films. "The directive from above is clear," one Disney producer told us. "No more reinventing the wheel, stick to what made these stories beloved in the first place." Disney's live-action Snow White was supposed to be a triumphant reimagining of a beloved classic, but instead it has spiraled into one of the studio's most humiliating failures. With disastrous box office numbers and widespread backlash, CEO Bob Iger has found himself at the center of a full-blown corporate crisis. Now, Iger is fighting back, but can even Disney's most seasoned leader save the company from this mess? The numbers don't lie. Snow White grossed just $43 million 0 cents domestically in its opening weekend and $87 million 0 cents globally. A catastrophic start for a film with a $270 million 0 cents budget. The backlash has been relentless, with fans slamming the film for its sweeping departures from the original 1937 classic. Rachel Zegler's controversial comments about Prince Florian being a stalker and her dismissal of the original film as outdated only added fuel to the fire. Faced with mounting criticism, Bob Iger publicly defended the film, dismissing complaints as politically driven and claiming that Snow White was unfairly targeted by detractors with hidden agendas. He insisted that Disney's decision to break from source material was necessary to create a fresh story for modern audiences. But fans weren't buying it. Many accused Iger of gaslighting audiences and prioritizing messaging over storytelling. Even more shocking are reports that Disney's board of directors is losing faith in Iger's leadership. Insiders claim emergency meetings have been held to discuss whether Iger should step down earlier than his planned departure in 2026. In a desperate attempt to control the narrative, Iger has reportedly commissioned internal studies to determine what went wrong with Snow White, while simultaneously planning a major corporate restructuring that many see as an attempt to shift blame away from his leadership. Let's kick things off with the brutal numbers that have Disney executives reaching for their anxiety medication. In one weekend, Warner Bros. Minecraft movie made more money domestically than Disney's Snow White managed globally after 3 weekends. That's right. While Minecraft raked in a staggering $157 million 0 cents domestically and $301 million 0 cents globally during its debut weekend, Snow White barely scraped together $43 million 0 cents domestically and $87 million 0 cents globally in its opening weekend. By its third weekend, things had gotten even worse. Snow White plummeted to 4th place at the box office, earning less than $6 million 0 cents, a catastrophic drop of 66% from the previous weekend. Industry analysts are now projecting total losses exceeding $100 million 0 cents, putting it in the same category as legendary bombs like Cats and Disney's own The Marvels. So what went wrong? Critics and fans alike have pointed to several fatal flaws. Rachel Zegler's controversial remarks about the original film alienated nostalgic fans, while creative choices like removing Prince Florian completely and replacing the iconic Seven Dwarfs with CGI magical creatures left audiences feeling cold and disconnected. Meanwhile, Minecraft, starring Jack Black and Jason Momoa, embraced its source material wholeheartedly, delivering lighthearted, family-friendly fun without pushing heavy-handed messaging, something audiences clearly appreciated. The contrast couldn't be more dramatic. While Minecraft packed theaters with excited families and gamers, Zegler was reportedly posting videos of herself alone in empty theaters watching Snow White. Talk about a visual metaphor for failure. One theater chain owner in the Midwest told Entertainment Reporters, "I've never seen anything like it. We had to cancel Snow White screenings due to 0 ticket sales while adding extra Minecraft showings because they were selling out. It was like night and day." But this box office disaster has triggered a chain reaction within Disney that nobody saw coming. Let's look at the most embarrassing viral moment from this whole debacle. Rachel Zegler's involvement in Disney's Snow White was supposed to be her crowning achievement after her acclaimed debut in Spielberg's West Side Story. Instead, it has become one of the most embarrassing chapters in her young career, and for Disney too. A viral video of Zegler sitting completely alone in an empty theater while watching her own movie has sparked widespread ridicule online and raised serious questions about the film's disastrous reception. The clip, posted by Zegler herself on social media, shows her smiling and enthusiastically clapping as her name appears on screen, surrounded by rows upon rows of completely vacant seats. What was intended as a celebratory moment quickly turned into fodder for memes and mockery. Fans couldn't help but draw comparisons to her earlier boastful comments in interviews where she claimed, "Everything I do, people will wait in line to see." One viral tweet that garnered over 200,000 likes summed it up perfectly. The only person waiting in line to see Snow White was Rachel Zegler herself. This visual representation of failure painted a stark picture of audience rejection that no amount of Disney PR spin could overcome. Critics have pointed to Zegler's polarizing comments about the original Snow White, where she called Prince Florian a stalker and dismissed the beloved classic as outdated, as key factors that poisoned audience goodwill before the film even hit theaters. Celebrity image consultant Miranda Jenkins, who has worked with A-list stars navigating PR crises, told us, Posting that empty theater video showed a complete disconnect from reality. Any publicist worth their salt would have advised against it. It only highlighted the film's failure and made her look oblivious to how badly things were going. But Zegler's embarrassment was about to get even worse as rumors of a confrontation with one of Hollywood's most beloved stars began to circulate. The drama surrounding Disney's live-action Snow White remake has taken a shocking turn as rumors swirl about an explosive confrontation between Jack Black and Rachel Zegler. According to insiders, the comedic legend allegedly called out Zegler over her handling of the film's backlash, and this confrontation may have triggered an emotional breakdown. The alleged incident reportedly occurred during a press event following the disastrous box office performance of Snow White. With the film grossing just $43 million, 0 cents domestically in its opening weekend, against a massive $270 million 0 cents budget, the pressure was mounting for everyone involved. Sources claim Jack Black, fresh off the success of Warner Bros.' Minecraft movie, approached Zegler to address her dismissive attitude toward fans and critics. Allegedly, he questioned whether calling audiences ignorant or malicious was helping the film's reception, or making things worse. Witnesses describe the exchange as tense and emotional. Zegler, who has faced relentless online criticism for her controversial comments about the original Snow White, reportedly became visibly upset during the conversation. Some insiders claim she stormed off in tears, overwhelmed by months of backlash, chaotic reshoots, and now criticism from within Hollywood itself. Neither Black nor Zegler has publicly addressed these rumors, but fans are speculating that this moment might be symbolic of larger issues plaguing Disney. While Black's Minecraft succeeded by embracing its source material and audience expectations, Snow White seemingly rejected both, and audiences responded accordingly. This alleged confrontation isn't happening in a vacuum, though. Behind the scenes, Disney was desperately trying to salvage a production that had been spiraling out of control for months. Disney's live-action Snow White was supposed to be a bold reimagining of a classic, but behind the scenes, the production spiraled into chaos. And not even $30 million, 0 cents in secret reshoots could save it from disaster. According to insiders, Snow White underwent not 1, not 2, but 3 rounds of extensive reshoots after disastrous test screenings and mounting backlash. Early focus groups reportedly found Rachel Zegler's portrayal of Snow White unlikable, with audiences criticizing her lack of charm and connection to the original character. In a desperate attempt to soften her image, Disney added new scenes, including a musical number featuring a younger version of Snow White played by a different actress. Each change ballooned the already massive $270 million 0 cents budget, with at least $30 million 0 cents spent just on reworking the dwarfs as CGI magical creatures after negative feedback from both fans and disability advocates. But the chaos didn't stop there. Insiders claim entire scenes were cut or rearranged at the last minute, leaving the story riddled with tonal inconsistencies and abrupt transitions. Licensing partners like Mattel reportedly pressured Disney for changes, fearing the film would damage their brand. Even a fire on set, pandemic delays, and an actor's strike added to the logistical nightmare, stretching production over 2 years and making the final product feel patched together and incoherent. A VFX artist who worked on the film but requested anonymity told us, "We were redoing the same shots over and over because the creative direction kept changing. One week the creatures were supposed to be cute and cuddly, the next week they were supposed to be more realistic and gritty. It was the most frustrating project I've ever worked on." Despite all these costly efforts, Snow White opened to just $43 million, 0 cents domestically, making it one of Disney's lowest performing live-action remakes ever. But the failure wasn't just hurting the bottom line, it was causing shockwaves that reached all the way to the top of Disney's corporate hierarchy. As we wrap up our deep dive into the Disney disaster, one thing is crystal clear. What should have been a triumphant revival of Disney's first animated princess has instead become a cautionary tale that will be studied in film schools and boardrooms for years to come. The Snow White controversy raises fascinating questions about the future of Hollywood remakes. Can beloved fairy tales survive modern scrutiny? Should studios cast actors who personally connect with the original material? Or is it acceptable to have stars who publicly critique the source? And where is the line between thoughtfully updating classics for contemporary audiences and alienating fans who cherish the original? For Disney, the financial implications are significant. With Snow White projected to lose over $100 million, 0 cents, shareholders are demanding answers about how a film with such a beloved source material and massive budget could fail so spectacularly Reports suggest the studio has already paused development on several planned remakes while executives reassess their approach. Industry analysts speculate this could mark the end of Disney's aggressive live-action remake strategy that has dominated their slate for nearly a decade. As for Rachel Zegler, her future remains uncertain. At just 23, she has time to rebuild her career, but the Snow White controversy will likely follow her for years to come. Will studios take a chance on her for major projects, or will she need to prove herself in smaller roles before regaining Hollywood's trust? Only time will tell if this is merely a stumbling block or a career-defining setback. But this story isn't over yet. In our next Maggie Talks exclusive, we'll be revealing shocking behind-the-scenes information about tensions between Zegler and co-star Gal Gadot that Disney tried desperately to hide. Plus, we've uncovered which A-list directors turned down the Snow White project after reading the script, calling it unfilmable and a betrayal of everything that made the original special. We'll also be analyzing the secret focus group data that warned Disney executives about potential backlash months before the film was released. Did they ignore clear warning signs? And which Disney executives are now updating their resumes as Bob Iger reportedly demands accountability? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our follow-up investigation next Friday at 8 p.m. This has been Maggie Talks Deep Dive into the Snow White disaster. Remember, in Hollywood, happy endings aren't guaranteed, especially when it comes to fairy tales. Until next time, this is Maggie saying keep it glamorous, keep it gossipy, and above all, keep it real.